I, Alex Adekunle James, promise to tell the truth as I always do, nothing but the truth, and to speak my truth.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. In recent years, Nigeria has faced growing international concerns over what many human rights organizations have said is an intentional genocide of the Christian faith in Nigeria. Church groups, international observers have said maybe there's somewhat a systematic genocide in Nigeria. And just of recent, the president of the United States of America, Donald Trump, labeled Nigeria as a country of concern. And these, of particular concern rather, and this has made the Nigerian government sit up somehow, some said. But the question is, must it get to this level? Must another president of another country say what our issues are? Some have also said it's actually not a Christian genocide that is going on. Humanity at its bare is falling apart in Nigeria because lives are being taken for granted. Either Christians, either Muslims, either traditionalists. That these terrorists actually don't know whoever they're being killed. But one thing is certain. Insecurity in the country is growing at an alarming rate. Since 2009, when the Boko Haram sect reared its head, there's been calls from every part of the country to deal with it. But there are issues whether these things are actually be taken for granted or not. So, on my show today, I have Alex Adekunle James. He's an executive director of Rivers in the Deserts, an advocate for Christians' life matter. That's how I'll put it. And I reached out to him on Instagram because I saw some of the works he's been doing, most especially speaking about this particular issue, even before the President of the United States of America spoke about it. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. So good to be here.
So let's just dive into it. First, give me a background of what you do and why you felt like, Christian life also matters, most especially the kind of things that you do in the North, or what you have done in the North, rather.
Thank you very much. Like you said, I'm the executive director of RID Nigeria, where we largely is a civil society organization, particularly trying to enlist Christians and Christian resources and Christian values into transforming Nigeria. That's primarily what we do. I've been at it for more than 10 years. But very recently, we started the CSI Aid, which is Christian Social Impact Aid, where we launched about 2 years ago an advocacy or launched multiple initiatives around curbing or mitigating the killings of Christians in northern Nigeria and in the Middle Belt. So around that, we staged a protest. About 2 months ago, I led a protest to National Assembly where we had the placard saying that Christian lives matter. Like you said, these killings needs to end. And, we had a list of 10 requests where about 5 of them were policy actions, right, that the legislature can take, and the government generally. This was long before it even became a topical issue, right? And then we've also launched initiative. For example, we see that most of the intervention, right, are reactionary, right? After something had happened, we see a lot of organization, a lot of churches going there to provide relief material, a lot of countries, right? But we don't really have a lot when it comes to preventive, right? So we developed an initiative, a sustainable initiative where we try to get local organization, people that are at the heart of this problem to bear solutions, right? Peace building solutions. We take their solutions, train them, increase their capacity to implement, and provide funds for them to implement those preventive solutions. So, I mean, that's part of what we're doing, among many other things, right, around the area. We also engage a lot of the survivors. We go on interviews with them. We provide some aid in the way that capacity that we can. We have a couple of interviews with some of the survivors, and then we, from time to time, pressure the government, to do something about it.
There's people who have said, come to think of it, this has nothing to do with Christian genocide. It's just humanity at its bare. They are terrorists. They don't know who a Christian is. They don't know who a Muslim is. They're just killing people.
That is very, very untrue. And that is a lie from the pit of hell, right? And it pains me, right, to see that there is an intentional propaganda, right, to rewrite what is really happening and what has been happening for many decades, and matter of fact, for centuries. Right? So let me take you down memory lane quickly. This whole thing started more than 200 years ago. Specifically, please allow me to consult. I'm not so good with numbers, so allow me to look at my dates and my name. So 1804. This was when jihadist movement started in Nigeria, and it was when Usman Dan Fodio came into the north. In fact, a lot of people don't even know that the first colonization we had was an Arab colonization, not the British colonization, because the north used to be as traditional as the south back centuries ago. But Arab came, colonized the north, brought Islam, and then what would change the story and bring jihadists into Nigeria was when Usman Dan Fodio organized a sect and displaced the Hausa rulers and installed the Sokoto Caliphate, right? Installed the Islamic Caliphate in Sokoto, and then they began to spread out from there. Now I'm talking about 1804. Now, 17 years after that, right, that's 204 years ago, in Oyo State, Samuel Ajayi Crowther, who is known popularly to translate the Bible to Yoruba, 204 years ago, there's an account of him being kidnapped by Fulani Muslims in Oyo State, 204 years ago. So I'm just trying to say that after that Sokoto Caliphate was established, the whole north was targeted to be Islamized, successfully so, and then they began to spread across the whole country, right? And this continued, and they continued to grow in strength, grow in the agenda. I must also establish that it is not a Nigerian problem, it's a global problem. Would you believe that 100 years ago, there was no single Islamic republic in the world? Not one. How many do we have today? So it's not a Nigerian problem. It's a religious problem, right? But a political problem.
But you can't also force people if they choose to take on a faith that they believe that it's theirs.
Yes, very
because
true.
when you say that there was no Islamic republic in the world 100 years ago, people eventually evolve and they believe that, okay, I might not want to be a Christian, I want to be a Muslim. So
it's not as simple as you say it, because most of this Islamic republic was won by war, killing people. See Turkey, for example, that is 99.5% Islam or 99.9% or something like that. There used to be zero presence of Islam. It used to even be almost a Christian state. The Bible in Revelation, where the Bible was talking about the seven churches, was in
Ephesus,
yes,
I remember.
all of that was in Turkey.
Yeah.
But the movement, if you check history, what's that group called now? That civilization.
Which civilization?
I'm trying to remember now. This this I can't
Egypt.
remember now. No. The people that actually destroyed the. I've forgotten these names now, right? So it's by war. It's not necessarily by easy conversion. I talk to you, you listen.
Yeah.
It's by literally by force, convert or die. Right? And that's why I say it did not just start now.
Yeah.
And this continued for many centuries. If you know this jihadist group, very patient group in the US very recently, a very notorious jihadist was arrested, and a document was found in his apartment. Right, a document that is called an 100-year plan to Islamize the United States. 100 years.
100, what did you call it?
100-year plan to Islamize the United States. Let me see. The name of that document is called The Project. All right? It's all over the news. You can fact check all of these things.
Right.
All right? So, very patient sect, grow in power, and strategy. I'm looking for that document because it has... Okay, perfect. I've seen it. The project, it stood on 4 pillars according to the document. One is mass immigration. Second is proselytizing, building mosques, getting jobs in the all of power. And it's an 100-year plan. So it's very systematic, very intentional, and their goal is very clear, right? To ensure that Sharia dominates the world or dominates the country wherever they are. So I'm just doing this to set the foundation of the question you asked about whether this is Christian genocide or not. Right? The primary, if you say it's not Christian genocide, maybe to a degree, you might be right, to the degree where it's called the enemy of Islam. Right? The enemy of Islam are the people being targeted. However, from the global document or what Islam would generally call their enemy, number 1 are Christians, number 2 are the Jews. Then maybe you can now bring in all these other traditional worshippers and all this. What's the division of the population of Nigeria? We'll see from maybe a couple of sources that we have 51% Muslims, 49% Christians.
Yeah.
So if these people say they kill infidels, they kill their enemy, then what sect is that enemy, which is known to be Christian? So definitely this sect have been targeted, and there are stories upon stories to buttress that fact or to establish that fact.
Another question I'd like to ask you, you've spoken about how this thing dates back to 200 years ago, the Roman Empire, what's it called? The Uthman Dan Fodio and all of those things. But one would be shocked as why, for example, the United Nations, for example, or the ICC has not been able to classify the kind of violence that go on in the different countries, as genocide. You wonder, because if indeed that's what the case is, the United Nations should be able to classify such a thing. And they should be able to penalize such governments or leader who under their watch such things happen. I mean systematical, uproot of all of these kind of things. That's what I mean by United Nations and ICC.
Yeah. So actually, these are non-state actors, right? Only when the state are the ones perpetrating this crime, right? That is when the leaders can be held, can be sued,
accountable,
held accountable.
Yeah.
Right, but as non-state actor, I think the international community have done their best. Boko Haram is classified as a terrorist group. Even Fulani herdsmen are classified. They are, I think, said to be in the top 10 most dangerous organization in the world. But in Nigeria, we have refused to classify them as a terrorist group. We call them bandits. We call them all sorts of things. Gunmen. Ridiculous. When in the international community, they've already been classified. They are listed as the... I can't remember the particular figure now, but they are the top 10 most dangerous groups in the world. So I think when it comes to that, as far as it comes to that, the international community have tried their best. Look at the United States also classifying Nigeria as a country of particular concern. But they can't outdo, there's sovereignty. They won't come and force. They won't force, if our government does not recognize that group as a terrorist group and handle it that way. The most that can happen is pressure, like what the United States president is doing, right? And what other people are doing. They can just only put pressure on the government. At the end of the day, we're a sovereign state. We're a sovereign state. We have leaders, we have constitution. Engagement between the UN and Nigeria, between other countries and Nigeria, needs to be what is already existing in the existing treaties and agreement of the government. Yeah. As a matter of fact, what President Donald Trump did is even against the UN convention. He's not supposed to be able to threaten another state. But sometimes some of these things are required just so that these countries will not look away. So I think, based on the international community, they are doing their best. They won't come and fight our battles for us. They won't help us. If that terror comes to their country, then you find out how they will deal with it. Or if it affects them. We saw how the US came to extract their assets when Boko Haram kidnapped them. They came clean, extracted their assets, took him away, and they only informed Nigeria after they had done it. So if it affects them, you will see how they will act precisely, but they cannot carry another country's matter on their head. It's not necessarily their business.
So are you saying that Nigeria is not experiencing Muslim genocide as well?
So in that's a very good question. And I also consider that a propaganda is a way to forcefully distract us from what is really happening and to distract us. It makes no sense that a government that has a constitution where killing is a crime would abandon all of that and be arguing, no, it's Christian, they kill Muslim also. No, they kill Christian, they kill Muslim. That's not the government's business. Commentators can do the argument, but your job is to stop the killings, right? You have the power of the military. Stop the killing and stop engaging in this ridiculous, childish argument of whether Christians are being killed, Muslims are being killed, and leave that to commentators, right? Leave that to.
But if those kind of narrative just go outside unchecked, not being addressed by the government, it makes it more. It gives it more weight. So people just say, "Oh, the government is not saying anything about it." So it definitely means that it does happen.
So let me pose a rhetorical question to you.
Okay.
If I'm not saying Muslims are not also being killed, and I will explain where I stand with that. But let me ask you these questions: the same Muslim groups that protested most recently, the President Donald Trump statement, they even did a statue of him, did a protest. When Ukraine-Russia war was happening, they protested in the north. They did protest in the north. Check it. When Gaza-Israel was happening, they protested in the north.
Yeah.
And these things don't concern them. So how come they are being killed, but there's not been any single protest? Their elite are not saying anything, right? The one that concern them. Now, let's even say maybe they are selfless. They don't want to talk about their own case. They are killing Christians. They are burning churches. They are not saying anything. Why do you think that would be? Why do you think our serial presidential candidate would tweet to condemn a death when a Christian was burned to death for just saying that on the WhatsApp group that she credits as success?
A serial presidential candidate?
I don't want to mention name,
okay,
right?
Okay.
Somebody only tweeted that, my academic success, I credit it to Jesus. Jesus is the one that is helping me. Was burned to death. He tweeted to condemn me, but deleted the tweet. Why? So I know Muslims are being killed, which I've been saying since. I've released a lot of press statements, but there was an interview that Senator Ali Ndume granted, I think, Channels TV, and he just confirmed my point and also confirmed to you that Muslims, first of all, there are different sects in Islam, right? They are not all the same. Some of them are extremists. Some of them are moderate Muslims. Some of them are even tending to be very, very liberal, which is according to the extremists, which is anti-Islam. In fact, there are some Muslim sects that the extremists, the Sunnis, they don't even consider to be Muslims at all. They are as much infidel as the Christians, right? So the Muslims that are being killed are the ones that are liberal, are the ones that does not agree with these killings that they are doing. So they are the ones being killed.
So is this if that be the case? So is it safe to say, not to just categorize all of them in one basket? To say okay, I want to put it in a better word to say extremists. Extremists, or we say Islamic extremists. Kills, or rather than say. Muslim, because when you generalize it,
there's a reason why it is generalized to say Christians are being killed. If a few Muslims are killed and you cannot even speak up for yourself, why am I speaking up for you? If they cannot even come out to say they are killing us too, have you ever seen any protest, anything alluding to that fact? They're not even speaking up for themselves, right? But it does not change the fact that Christians are specifically being targeted. Now, it's laughable to read from government when they say there is no targeted Christian killings. But not too long ago, a Muslim cleric was given a presidential award for hiding Christians from being killed. I think 100 something Christians.
Yes.
So how do you recognize somebody that hid Christians? And because he hid them in the mosque, they were not killed. And then you now say there's no Christian targeted killing. How come the person killing did not wipe out was the mosque, was the Muslim? How come the Christian was saved enough to be able to hide other people? It doesn't make any sense, right? You cannot claim that there is no. And there are several incidents when say for example, there are different when on Christmas Day, on Easter Day. There was a coordinated over 32 communities on Christmas Day, I think in 2023. 26 villages, more than 300 Christians were killed on Christmas Day. Have we forgotten that? Have we forgotten the Easter Day in 2024 when Christians were killed en masse?
Was 2024 or 2004?
2024.
2024.
Yes. What about the over 19,000 churches that have been burnt so far? Or the Deborah Samuel's case, where the 22-year-old student who was burnt by a classmate, by the WhatsApp issue I talked about, or the redeemed pastor, Pastor Eunice Olawale, that was in Abuja here, in Cuba, that was preaching in the morning, and then she was stabbed and slaughtered to death.
And nothing was done.
Nothing was done about it. What about Bridget Agbayim, the 74-year-old woman? She's a pastor's wife that was lynched and killed in Kano because of alleged blasphemy. What of Leah Shaibu, right? That was also that till today for refusing to renounce her faith. She's still in custody. She's still tied down. Or Christiana Oluwashesi. I definitely did not pronounce her name well. Oluwashesi. Right? She was a female teacher in a secondary school in Gombe State. She was supervising an exam, and then a student came in with a pile of books and was going to sit with his branch. She collected it and said, it's an exam, you can't take your book, and then threw the books in front of the class. And then they claimed that there was a Quran among the books that she threw, and she was killed. She was burnt. She was killed. She was killed to death on the spot for that. And so many others where there was no justice. How many people are being held for that? All right? And when government now make some arrests, the next thing we hear is we are
doing investigation.
We are not investigation. We are what's the word I'm looking for? We are reintegrating them into society. Where in the world have you ever heard that before? In the world, that you are reintegrating terrorists. Not even just integrating them into society. You put some of them back in the military force, where the military are now complaining that they will steal intel and go and give it to their commander, and there's a lot of our soldiers have died because of that. How does that make any sense? Right? And there's now one case of a Christian that fought back, a Christian farmer, a 19-year-old boy that X-Men would try to stab him twice, stabbed him on his head, stabbed him on his leg. And then in defense, he overpowered the X-Man, collected a knife, and killed the guy in defense. He's on death row. How many of these X-Men that have killed thousands of people are on death row? Not one. But what we do, we arrest them and absorb them, spend taxpayers' money, billions, to say we are reintegrating them. But we are not reintegrating the millions of Christians that have been displaced, that are in IDP camps. We're not even trying to resettle them. We're not trying to, they've lost livelihood. Most of them are traumatized. We're not trying to do anything for them, but we are spending billions of taxpayers' money to reintegrate the terrorists.
So, this topic can be a bit emotional. And why I say it can be a bit emotional is, when you have, when it's your faith and you hear the stories that happen and you hear how people die almost every time, you question exactly what the other faith is trying to achieve by doing all of this. But my other question to you is, people in the southern part of Nigeria, most especially Christians in the southern part of Nigeria, it looks as if they don't understand the gravity of what is happening. That's why, they just say, oh, Donald Trump wants to come and do this and that, and you get, which of course I also understand the global politics that is being played. I understand it perfectly. But we have opened the door for that kind of things to happen. Why? Because if purportedly these kind of systematic killings are not going on, we won't be having this kind of discussion whether US wants to come and take the natural resources of Nigeria or stuff. How do you think that the southern Christians should beginning to look at, the northern Christians in solidarity of what is happening? Because it looks as if majority of them, they're not just even let me say they are not interested. They don't really know the crux of what exactly was happening.
Thank you very much. I'll answer this in two parts. I largely blame the government and the media for the perception in the South, because truly, out of ignorance, a lot of people don't even know, like you said, the extent of what is happening. And I would blame the government because I see a pattern, right? What we do in Nigeria, we hide it. We try to hide the truth, to run away from the truth. It not even just with this killing, with even what happened, our civil war, for example. We don't know what happened in our civil war. We don't have
there's no
extent.
Concrete.
Yes, we don't have a single museum.
Yeah.
We don't have.
As a matter of fact, you see that's one. That one is a even different ballgame than that.
Yes,
because
but
everybody have their own different version of what happened.
Thank you very much. And it's because we are trying to conceal, maybe because of the idea, maybe we think that if we hide the truth, right, we'll be able to brush over it.
Yeah.
But the world has shown, history has shown, see all over the world where something like this happened. There's a day in Rwanda, for example. Look at the Rwanda genocide. They have a day of forgiveness. They have a museum where they keep the skull of some of the people killed, where they keep some of these things to bring back the memory of that, of what happened. And then they have a day of forgiveness. They're able to face their truth. They know. But in Nigeria, it's like we hide the truth. And I see that pattern. I believe that's what is happening when it comes to this killing too. So there's a lot of under-reporting, a lot of covering, let people not really know what is happening. And then they say, it's funny how they say that, let us not create a divide over religion. What creating, is it the incident that will create the divide or the announcing of the incidents? If Christians are being killed in a devastating, terrible way, is it that incident that will create the divide or reporting what really happened? Because I don't understand why there's a lot of cover-up. I was speaking recently in a conference where the representation of almost every media outlet in Nigeria was, and I was challenging them. I said, even as these things are currently happening, how many of your media houses sent reporters to this place to do special reports? So all we just get is we wait for press release from the government and then publish that. That's not reporting. I was reminding them that a couple of decades ago, the media was like the biggest advocacy force in Nigeria during the military government. That's why we see a lot of, even our current president was on exile. Most of these people, because the media, they will report, they will do that investigation, they will report the truth. A lot of reporters, journalists were killed. One that I worked with very closely was jailed about 19 times during the military government. A lot of them would escape, their media houses burned because they were reporting the hard truth. They were not waiting for press release. They go to where it's happening and report the actual truth. But we don't have any of that anymore. Our media houses now, largely, maybe not entirely, is now like a press release center where you wait for the government to tell you what happened when you can go there. So I'm saying in Water, for example, how many media went to that village to see what was happening? And guess what? Guess who you will see there? International media, foreign media. This US that we are saying they got the news wrong is not. How can they get the news wrong when they are the one on ground? You go there, you will see Truth Nigeria, you will see the US Embassy, you will see representation of foreign media, but you will hardly ever see foreign local media.
Okay, so I will take you on this one. Okay. So yeah, this is how it works. So I understand your point where you say, media also have not been able to do justice to some of these stories. And what you find is that most of them, you see most of these guys, the international media is what you see. First of all, where is those media stations you see, those international media, they give them a life insurance. Which media station in Nigeria will give you life insurance? They don't.
I agree with you.
Second, see, for you to be in that kind of settings, most especially when you go for that kind of report, for example, I know that TVC has actually embarked on that kind of reports before. I think even not in Nigeria, in Congo, I think was our State House correspondent now, Femi Akonde. He was in Congo when the DRC Congo was having their war. I think that was way back in 2014, 2013 or so. He was there. TVC was able to sponsor him to go along with some international NGOs that were able to sponsor them and go. But you see here, it's a different ball game. So you find out that most media stations are not able to. Who is going to give you that life insurance? That means that when I'm giving you life, I'm saying that your children are secured.
If anything
happens to you.
True.
You get your children are secured if anything happens to you. But man, my brother, is this somebody who just got married?
I totally agree with you. In fact, when I had this conversation, this was the exact response I got, which I now elaborated, which I'm going to do now. I'm not blaming the reporters. I'm blaming the media owners.
Even the media owners.
The media owners.
Wait, my brother. Even the media owners. See, there are some levels of what you are able to do in terms of your reach. For example, if a media house who probably have a staff strength of like 100 and goes hammer on the government can decide
to shut you down.
Yes. Which, of course, is not supposed to be in the first place. Nigerian government these days hardly shut any media station down. If you look at it,
that's because they don't report anti-government. They hardly report anti-government news anymore.
But it's just what we now find out now is that they rather do it on TV. They don't go to where the stuff is happening. I'm just trying to make you understand why all of these things happen and why it doesn't seem as if the media stations are not doing.
So my 2 points on this. One of the first problem that we have is that most of this media are already owned by politicians.
Okay.
That's one of the first problems we have. Most of the media are already owned by politicians and they would never do anything against their interest or against the interest of their party.
Yeah.
Number 2, I don't think it's an excuse that they will shut down your TV station because, now, the Constitution only recognizes media as the fourth estate of the realm, as the body that is supposed to keep the government
of course
only, not advocates, not what we have today, NGOs, media. But media has finally been able to succumb because I was talking about a couple of decades ago during the military government. A lot of this media, their media houses shut down, burnt down. MK Abiola had a media house that was shut down because of one report. There were journalists that were killed because some people were even operating from silos, from underground, distributing in secret. The government were looking for them, but it did not deter them from doing the work that they're supposed to do because the essence of the media is to keep people rightly informed. So the South will not know what is happening because the propaganda is the one that is reigning. That's what people know. It's what the government want people to know, that they know in the country.
Okay, so I agree with you. I agree with you on that point. But let's not also derail from what we're trying to say.
Absolutely.
I also want us to look at the gospel that is being preached in terms of how, most especially in the South, where they feel so comfortable and they don't see like the essence of why the people in the North, pass through that kind of, pain. Don't you think that the pulpit from the South has also contributed to this menace that we have?
I don't necessarily agree. I don't see a path to that. What I know, right, which I will say, because I'm very close to some of the pastors. I know that a lot of Southern pastors are doing a lot when it comes to this situation, especially with
I'm not talking about in terms
especially
of...
with...
No, I'm not talking about in terms of how when they give palliatives. No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying that the kind of messages that they even preach on the pulpit makes the average Southerner more comfortable than, okay, whatever, I am the Christian, whatever is happening in the North, is looking like it doesn't concern. So it looks like the message from the South pulpits.
Give me one example of this message. Let me understand you.
Let me cite an example.
Why? Okay.
Let me cite an example of we are so much engrossed in the message of grace in the South.
Okay, if I understand you, right? Now, I think I saw there was a trending tweet there was something trending on X recently, and it was about somebody saying that Christians, the church, are largely responsible for, I think, child marriage and abuse or something like that.
Okay.
And I'm like, this is pure gaslighting. Okay. This is gaslighting of the highest order. There are two major religions in this country. One is the basis for perpetration of crime that has seen more than 50,000 people killed. Another one, in his own capacity, is praying, is providing all the support they can give. I heard one of the pastors of one of the biggest churches in Nigeria say that there is no organization, no government that it will stand confident to say as outgiving his church when it comes to relief material for people suffering this in the North. Not one. Recently, there is a review that came out that I was listening to today. I identified some Abuja churches and saying that this church, this woman pastor has taken on the children of numbers of pastors have been killed, and she's sponsoring them, sponsoring them to school. So a lot of things are going, but a lot of pastors will not talk about it because it's even biblical that when your right hand is doing something, your left hand should not know. So they will not come and announce it that, this is what we are doing. We have sent this relief. We are doing this. We are pressuring this Christian governor to speak. We are having meetings. We are having strategic meetings and doing this. There's another pastor that is the PFN pastor for Lagos that did a video and said he came for a meeting. I
saw the video.
So they are doing a lot. They might not talk about it, but they are trying in their own capacity. And this is the reason why we should not have Muslim tickets, because there's nobody in the executive that they can go to, that they can cry to. And whether we like it or not, everybody will be sympathetic towards their religion. They might not condone crime. They might not condone, but in a way, they will be sympathetic towards their religion. That's why we should not have Muslim tickets.
Yeah, but if you look at this administration in terms of when you say Muslims, I understand the president and the vice president are Muslims, but majority of the cabinet are Christians.
Well, when we're talking cabinet, we're talking the decision makers.
No, the people who make the decisions.
Top executive. If you want to talk of representation, look at National Assembly, for example. If you have Christian, have somebody on the wheelchair, if the number is not right, if the person in power, if the sentiment of the person, if the person in power sentiment is not the one being pushed. I don't know how I want to say this. Yes. It will not work, no matter so it's a matter of how powerful is your movement, how well are you represented, is your faith, is your religion, and that's the essence of, for example, I mean, it might be somewhat not right if they do it in the executive. But in National Assembly, for example, it is based primarily on representation, right? There is a Muslim caucus in National Assembly. There's a Christian caucus. There's so many caucuses. There are people representing the interest of their people. Yeah. And you see debate on the floor of the House. They'll say, this will not favor my people, so I will not agree to it. It will not favor. So if we don't have such representation, this is bound to happen. I made reference off camera of Lawal Babagida, the former SGF, talking about a story when his farm was invaded by herdsmen, and they were able to arrest them. The farm that
they used 36 million naira, but continue.
And then he was able to arrest the herdsmen that brought their cow to destroy his crops. And commuting them to the police, they were confidently boasting. I mean, this is on I think TVC, the interview or channels. They were posting and saying, nothing can happen to us, nothing. You guys, we are the ones in government. And we are the ones in government. No, nobody can do anything to us. Do you know who owns the cow that we are eating? Do you know where our influence is? Nothing will happen. And guess what? Nothing happened. Right? So if they say we are the ones in government, it's because of this Muslim ticket. It's because they feel that they might not. I'm not saying that the government, the Muslim, the president and the vice president is supporting them, but I'm saying that the sentimental value would always be there. Always.
Even when we had a Christian as the president, we still had these issues.
President or vice president, which one?
President. For example, when we had President Goodluck Jonathan, was when we had the cheaper girls issue.
Okay, good. But let's talk about President Olusegun Obasanjo and how decisive he was, how ruthless he was in attending to this matter.
When we had President Olusegun Obasanjo,
yes,
the crisis we had then was not as much as we have now. Why? I will tell you. Okay. For example, if you have to trace it back to when Boko Haram really started, was way back in 2009. Obasanjo has left. President Obasanjo has left.
Okay, let's speak to Goodluck Jonathan, right? In the northeast, right, just before 2014-2015 election, right, the bandit Boko Haram vowed that there will be no election in the southeast. What did Goodluck Jonathan did? He employed mercenaries from South Africa, from Ukraine. They came in. There was a senator that was describing the process, how they went, how sophisticated they were. Brought in this mercenary, and they were successful at their campaign. They brought peace enough for peaceful election to hold in every local government in the southeast. But what happened when President Buhari came in? He kicked them out. So, I mean, right? Some of these things are. So how come we've not been able to, if that was an approach that worked in the past, how come we've not been able to repeat it? How come when we have somebody that is committing, that is saying he wants to come and help us, we are kicking against it? Because we don't even know the ramification. Do you know how much it costs to embark on such campaign? Who is paying for the bullets? Who will pay for all of these things? We saw, for example, the Gulf War. So the Gulf War, it took the United States only 1 year to defeat the Iraqis government who are taking over the oil-rich country, right? And the US went, for 1 year, it cost $110 billion to fight that war, that Gulf War, and win. So if somebody is saying that, which a US senator came out today to say is very unlikely for the US for the Donald Trump to ask soldiers to come and fight for, because it's expensive. Who will pay for it? And then I believe that it is something we should be thankful for. If we have been able to solve this problem and we can't solve it, and the biggest military forces in the world is saying that I want to come and help you, the best reaction I would have expected, if without any political or religious ties, to say, "Oh, thank you very much." However, we might have this concern, but with this treaty, if we draw up this agreement, because we do business, whether government, individuals do business with the US, people do business. You sign an agreement and ensure that your whatever is, and how many minerals can you get that will give $110 billion? Okay. So if they want to help, why are we not open to it and just ensuring that, okay, this will protect us, let's put this in. And the US, they honor their treaties, right? We see that they honor their treaties. See Cuba, for example, that is just their next door neighbor. They signed a treaty that they won't invade them, and for many years, they've not invaded them.
Okay, so my last question, so that we just round up. My last question has to do with how do you think that we need to start addressing this issue, aside from the fact that the help that we months from the US. And how do we start addressing the issue of insecurity in the country, irrespective of who has been killed, whether it's a Christian or is a Muslim? Human lives are very important. Christ died for the world.
Absolutely.
It is when you now accept Christ that you now say you are now a believer. But the first thing was that Christ died for the world. So how do we begin to, have that conversation where we say, okay, you know what? Government, you need to help your optics.
So I totally agree with you, right? First of all, we are all creation of God. God created man. Because we now disagree based on salvation, on how we would be saved or the afterlife, which is literally the difference between Christian and Islam. First of all, we are first human, we are first man.
Yeah.
And we are supposed to, on this earth, look out for each other. God created us one. Created man. Even the Bible says something like God causes rain to fall, not just on believers, but on everybody, right? So that's why, like I said earlier, the government should see this as a pure violation of its constitution or criminality codes. If you kill, this is the punishment. Right now, the penalty for killing in our constitution, I think, is death, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So if that's even what is obtainable, how many people have died?
But there's
killing.
But there seems to be energy these days after that.
I see it, I recognize it, I appreciate it, but I think it is still cutting the grass from the top instead of rooting it out from the root. Because if you keep killing these boys, if their sponsors are still there, the money is still flowing, they'll pick more boys.
So the sponsors should be killed as well.
We need to bring them to book. We need to identify them. Dubai gave us a list. Where is it? What are we doing with it? The US have said severally that they have this list. They will announce it. They've been saying that since when Donald Trump was there the first time. But why? I don't even understand the politics behind it. Bring out this name. Let's bring them to book. Let's cut off the source. Let's cut off the funding, and you see that these small players, the small boys will wither away. It's not about going we've destroyed Boko Haram camp in this place. We rescued 2 or 3 kidnapped. That's not addressing the problem. Because if we really want to address the problem, we'll go to the root. And our government, according to some sources, a lot of people have said, even Falana recently was saying that we know these people. He was even challenging a former northern governor and challenging him and saying, sue me to court. You are the one that started Boko Haram. You are the one that gave them money. You empowered them. And then you had a deal with them to win office for you, and you would reward them. You gave one of them office. You help them. He was saying, he said, sue me. But what the guy is still roaming freely in this country. So if we really are serious about solving this problem, we'll start from there.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Alex. I really appreciate your time and for coming. I know that it was going to be, the two of us were going to have back and forth. But thank you. I really appreciate it. It's nice to have you.
Yes.
So that's our episode for this week. Join us next week as we bring another interesting episode of Speak Your Truth. We just finished speaking with Mr. Alex. He's an advocate for Christian Life Matters. That's how I put it. I choose to put it in my own words. So watch out for this episode by 7 p.m. on Sunday. And by next week, we'll join you for another one. Thank you. My name is Ademola Lawrence. Bye for now.